Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Daily Practice with me, Nikhil. And today, I'd like you to start off with this question: what is it like to be you? We all experience the world from different points of view, from our own existence, yet, it's one of the most biggest mysteries. We see all the sights, sounds, feelings, thoughts. The inner world is what we call this mystery of you-ness. What is you-ness? And understanding the nuances of being you, the sensations you feel, what are these? So, the fundamental question we all sometimes delve deep into is, what is consciousness? What is being conscious and what is consciousness? And by the way, there is no single agreed upon definition or explanation. This sets the stage for exploration, wonder, and different perspectives. So, in today's little practice, we will look into some of the ideas, some approaches, and even how we can change consciousness. So, let us just attempt a definition. This is going to be really difficult, but still, let's attempt a definition. Awareness. What is awareness? Being aware of our surroundings and internal states. Subjective experience. The feeling of what it's like to see the color blue, or taste chocolate, or feel the pain. And this is often known as qualia, the subjective quality of conscious experience. We can all know that the object exists, the chocolate exists, the taste exists, the color blue exists, but the qualia is the sense or the quality of your conscious experience. And that is different for every single one of us. In consciousness, there is a thing called the hard problem and the easy problem. And let's keep it simple. The easy problem is explaining how the brain processes informations, reacts to stimuli, distinguishes between inputs, etc. These are complex because there are so many things which happen inside of us, but seem to be understandable and can be solvable. So if there is a light coming into our retina, then we know kind of how the brain and your mind processes that information and feeds it back through your body to visual aspects. But the hard problem, explaining why these processes give rise to the subjective experience. So we know that the light falls into our retina and then gets processed in the brain. But then how does it become the tree? How does it become the screen? How does this become the sky? And that is the explanation which is known as the hard problem. Explaining why these processes gives rise to subjective experience. Why does seeing red, for example, feel like something? Why isn't just information processing without the inner movie? And this is the core mystery. I don't think we can solve it here, but I think it is good to understand. So there are different ways we can approach this unpacking of consciousness. Yesterday I had a dream where I was traveling and I was unpacking and unpacking. So it kind of really made sense when I thought we will discuss about unpacking consciousness. So there are different ways you can look at it. So, first, an approach known as dualism, the idea that the mind and body are fundamentally separate, and the mind is non physical, the software versus hardware kind of approach, which we have heard many times, but they interact somehow. The problem here is that how does a non physical mind and a physical body interact? And then there is the aspect of physicalism or materialism. This is the main view in what we call science. Consciousness is purely a product of physical processes in the brain. And how do we explain it? Consciousness is what the brain does. Like digestion is what the stomach does. The problem here still, it doesn't fully explain the subjective feeling. Subjective feeling. What does it mean to be conscious? And there are other forms of ideas like panpsychism, which is consciousness is a fundamental property of the universe. And that's another area where a lot of spiritual leaders, a lot of people who operate in this space talk about. So, what does it mean to be conscious for you? Just take a moment. What does it mean? Close your eyes. What does it mean? Maybe you come up with ideas of yourself separate from the environment, or maybe you are saying that this is all just one big illusion. Just want to really touch upon some of the psychological and some scientific approaches. So there are lots of people who are working on this subject, on subjective experience of consciousness, and they look at specific areas of brain and consistently check if someone is consciously aware of something. It's like finding the engine lights that turn on when car is running. This shows like correlation, but it never shows causation. Then there is the brain activity, like using the fMRI and EEG. We study brain states related to consciousness, example difference between awake, asleep, or under anesthesia. And then there is a lot of studies, research on attention, perception, etc., etc. And how do we become aware of certain stimuli? But in all of that, we just still don't explain what consciousness is. So consciousness isn't always the same. How does it change? We have different states of consciousness. Sleep, dreams, we lose some awareness of the external world but enter a vivid internal conscious state. Meditation and mindfulness, these practices help us at altering the focus and quality of our awareness. Of course, there is a talk about psychedelics and drugs. These can profoundly change perception, thought patterns, and the sense of self. And anesthesia, or when it is in a coma, when people are in coma, these are consciousness. Their consciousness is significantly reduced, so the amplitude or the vibrations of consciousness is reduced and seemingly absent. So these states show consciousness isn't a simple on-off switch and can be modulated by physical and mental factors. So that was just a brief overview of what consciousness is. And this is a fundamental aspect of us being human, and it's a profound mystery. It's explored by lots of people, investigated by scientists, and experimented by all of us, moment by moment. So What I would like to do now is something different. I would like to, instead of just talking about consciousness, let's just take a few minutes to directly experience it, get to know it. So, let's take about 5 minutes to simply be with our consciousness. You don't need to do anything, just observe. Find any comfortable position. And if you feel comfortable, gently close your eyes or simply lower your gaze. Let's just take a moment to feel the weight of your body supported by the chair. Notice your feet on the floor. Bring your attention gently to your breath, wherever you feel it most easily. Maybe the rise and fall of the chest, or the air moving in and out of the nostrils. You don't need to change your breath in any way, just notice it. This simple act of noticing is an act of awareness, of consciousness. Now, expand your awareness slightly to include any sounds around you. Notice the sounds without needing to identify them or judge them. Just hear them as they are. Awareness includes hearing. Now notice any sensations in your body, perhaps warmth, coolness, tingling, or pressure. Simply acknowledge these feelings. And awareness includes feelings. And thoughts may arise in your mind. This is perfectly natural. See if you can notice thoughts just thinking, like clouds passing in the sky. You don't need to follow them or push them away. Notice any emotions that might be present. See if you can just be aware of the feeling without getting lost in the story behind it. Awareness includes thoughts and feelings, but it is also the space in which they appear. For these last few moments, simply rest in the feeling of present moment awareness, the awareness of your breath, your body, your sound, thoughts, feelings, and whatever is present right here, right now. Notice that you are the one who is aware of these things. You are the one who is having the subjective experience, self-awareness, and you are the one who can learn and change your own self-experience. Gently begin to bring your attention back into the room, and when you feel ready, just ask yourself, what is consciousness? And you can Slowly open your eyes and let your answers flow. So I invite you to take this moment and let your consciousness flow. Let whatever comes just flow into words and put it on paper if that is convenient. If not, say it out loud. Let it flow. Now just gathering yourself back. Thank you for practicing in this short introspection or reflection on consciousness. And I invite you to share your thoughts on consciousness and what it means to be conscious, what it means to be having subjective experience. And this exercise was a simple invitation to directly experience the very thing we've been discussing, your own very present moment consciousness. And it can also highlight, while we can analyze consciousness from different angles, it's also something we embody and experience every second. So we are kind of in a duality. We don't know anything about consciousness, but we know everything about consciousness. So thank you for listening in. Thank you for tuning in. And let me know if you have any thoughts. Until next time, this has been Daily Practice with Nikhil. And today we explored or we unpacked a little bit of consciousness. Thank you.